All right, so let me begin. I think I see most of your colleagues who are in the courtroom in the back. The court maintained the same bail conditions despite requests by the district attorney's office that they be changed to involve house arrest. We are pleased that the court recognized that the current bail conditions are adequate. Mr. Weinstein has told me, and I have told the court, that his primary objective is to clear his name and to come to court when required, because that's the only way he can do that. The more I investigate this case, the more I realize that the charges that are currently in the indictment are very defensible indeed, and that any suggestion that Mr. Weinstein raped anyone based on the overwhelming evidence that I have in my possession already is a ludicrous suggestion, and Mr. Weinstein has, of course, also vigorously denied that suggestion. So his position has been from the beginning that any sexual encounters he had with anyone during the period in question were consensual, and that he was never engaged in any forcible sexual compulsion whatsoever. And based on everything I have seen thus far, I believe that Mr. Weinstein accurately describes the encounters just based on the corroborative evidence that I have in my possession, with only 5 weeks since we have had a chance to look into these allegations. Today was a formality. Mr. Weinstein is not a predator. He is not a rapist. And I believe that when this case is over, we will ultimately see him to be exonerated. I understand the massive media onslaught that we have been fighting before he ever entered a courtroom, and what we will have to continue to fight. But my hope is that proof beyond a reasonable doubt, it should be the only way someone gets convicted, and if we use that standard, I believe Mr. Weinstein will be found not guilty. If we allow Pulitzer-driven reporters to decide this case, then it could be hopeless, but God help all of us if that's how the criminal justice system is ever allowed to work. So today, we are pleased. This was an important development because Mr. Weinstein should not be under house arrest, and the court agreed by keeping the same bail conditions. So we fight these battles one day at a time, and today we won this round. So we are pleased. I'll take just a couple of questions.
What is that evidence you say you have that makes it defensible? Is it related to the only fact of consensual? Can you share some of the evidence that you have?
Mr. Vance announced that he was not going to try this case in the press. Neither am I. I can tell you that we are no longer simply relying on Mr. Weinstein's denials. We have corroborative evidence in the form of witnesses. We have corroborative evidence, overwhelming evidence in the form of email traffic, and the suggestion that Mr. Weinstein raped anyone based on what I've seen, just based on the evidence I've seen, is just a preposterous allegation.
How is your client doing, holding up physically and mentally?
I think he's doing as well as someone can be expected under the circumstances. The crime of rape is a very serious offense. To be falsely accused of rape is also serious, and unless you've been in the position of Mr. Weinstein, where in his judgment he's been falsely accused of a very serious crime, it's hard to imagine how difficult that is. But on balance, I think he's doing reasonably well. He's been very helpful in assisting us in mounting defense, and so far everything he has told us to look for, we have found. And his denials are, in my judgment, being confirmed every day by a lot of evidence that we are finding that's independent of Mr. Weinstein.
The prosecutor has said any other women who have been victimized by Mr. Weinstein should come forward. Is your client bracing himself for the possibility of more indictments?
We're not bracing ourselves. We anticipate, based on what the prosecutor has said, that there may be more charges. My guess would be that they came with the most serious charges that they could find first. That would be my expectation. If there's more, we'll deal with them when they come. I can't deal with charges that may one day be filed. It's just not the way a criminal lawyer operates.
Do you want these cases tried separately?
What?
Do you want these tried separately?
Mr. Weinstein's job?
Yes.
Well, currently he's primarily paralegal to me. In addition, he is Harvey Weinstein, and despite what you may find to be his flaws, he is a brilliant maker of movies, and he's reviewing scripts, and he's trying to pursue additional projects in the future. His objective is to clear his name, get some help with the problems that he has faced, and hopefully go back to making movies. And I want to clear up what I said on the record only because it's not right, and there are divorce proceedings. Mrs. Weinstein does not live in the same location as Mr. Weinstein. That was my mistake. It was the family home is where he is staying, and I just jumped to conclusions. So just let's get that part right.
What are the medical issues that you talked about?
Those are really private. I don't really discuss anyone's medical issues.
To the question of do you want these cases tried separately?
I don't know. I mean, the law on that is very complicated, and I'm not certain it makes sense to have 3 separate trials. But if it does, and if the law requires it, we'll look at that as one of the issues. My guess is that if we try them all at the same time, it may be better for Mr. Weinstein, but I don't know yet. Thank you very much, Lynn.